I have my guest with me today, somebody who I've known for many years, and somebody who a lot of people know by different names. Andy, I know him as Anass. Andy, Anass, Abbar, welcome to NPC.
Thank you, PK, my dear friend, and it's a pleasure and honor to be part of this conversation today.
So, Andy, you've been, a hardcore product guy, and this is the NPC or the Product Conclave, where we talk about all things product. Tell me about your product journey. Like instead of me going out and introducing to people, I think it makes a lot more sense if you do it to yourself, by yourself.
Absolutely. I think it goes back to my 20 years at Microsoft, being in the head office in Redmond. And it's all about product and product development. And I think this is what shaped my DNA of product development. I have almost 20 patents of products or features, ideas, concept that I developed while at Microsoft. And this journey really got me to a place where before this concept of design thinking came along, it was part of what we did, but we didn't know it was called design thinking. So, putting ideas, optimizing, automating were core part of my DNA. And I challenged myself, I challenged my team day in, day out. How do we really better position a feature for our users or audience?
Very good. And then how did that lead to where you are today? Like from Microsoft being somewhere like in a very large campus, building something for around the world. How did you end up back here in the region, as we call it?
Yeah. To make a long story short, 20 years at Microsoft got me into many aspects of product development, based in Redmond, Paris, Bangkok, and then joined Yahoo to be part of the acquisition that took place in the Middle East. And this, I was always intrigued about the MENA region, originally from this region. So I always wanted to get back to the roots. Yahoo gave me an opportunity to really deep dive into media. And I fell in love with this bug, media bug. And this really helped me put together the corporate discipline that I acquired from the big companies to being a bit more agile. We all suffer from the corporate fatigue, if I have to say, into being an agile startup where decision-making is done quickly. We validate a concept, test it out, and either roll it out or roll it back, whichever it is. And this is the beauty of being in a startup mode where you quickly make decisions. Hopefully it's the smart decisions as you go on. This is, I wouldn't trade my job for any other job today.
So when you moved from Microsoft to Yahoo, that must have been a very different kind of like a revelation. You came from a product company to another product company, but they were completely different. How did your part of product management change?
Absolutely. So coming from a Microsoft product, it's a very big engine, very well oiled big engine, to a more of, instead of a product, it became a service with Yahoo. It's online, so no more floppy.
One massive product, correct?
Absolutely. So it was about how quickly you can turn things around versus, back then at Microsoft, it was about, an executable. Now it's more about a service. Of course, fast forward with Harvey, the company that I co-founded, it was about more of an instant gratification, an instant development of a feature or of a piece of news or a content. And that really, today I feel so excited that we managed to overcome the crisis of the COVID as a digital platform. We grew by 30%. We're almost 130 employees now, spread between Egypt, Jordan, Dubai, and we have people working remotely in Turkey, Kuwait, even Germany. The idea was about learning the best of the corporate worlds and applying the the quickness, the decision making of a startup. And this is really where today we're probably one of the largest digital media platform in the region. Mind you, we're a very profitable business. We managed to embrace the market, and this is what I tell all product managers: don't assume you will be able to bring the users to you. You should be where the users are. It doesn't matter what it is. And by no means I'm trying to preach a recipe for success. I will not claim that. But I think we managed to find the ingredients, let's say, of what worked and what didn't work. And part of this is really understanding and keeping an eye on where the trends are happening. So, we realized going from offline to online to mobile to display to programmatic to content to influencer marketing, the one thing we know is that it will never stop, and that it will always, there's something around the corner that is about to happen. People use the term digital transformation. I used it myself. I no longer believe in it, because what continuous transformation is the answer. It's not digital transformation. It is continuous transformation, that you need to keep an eye on the market, how it is evolving, and how can you take advantage of that evolution.
So when this evolution happens, this continuous change happens that you mentioned, how does product management change accordingly? Because remember, when you were doing it Microsoft at that time, you were probably selling site licenses and how many people use that and stuff like that. When you came down to Yahoo, you probably came down to how many users were using your platform at a single time, or maybe based on something like that, or advertising based revenue, which was on how many people clicked on something or used something or saw something. It's a completely different model. And when you look at it, when you have a product manager, instead of one way of thinking, also needs to have the different way of thinking. How does a product manager become agile?
Absolutely. First, you need to know your product 100%. So the examples you gave of Microsoft and Yahoo, if they did not evolve, their destiny was there. So making sure that Microsoft went to the cloud is a product management decision of basically making sure that the evolution needs to happen. In a startup world, so many factors play. You don't have control of the ways to change the direction of the company. What you do have is you're faster than these big players. So in the case of Harvey, what I did was I understood it's no longer a game of display advertisement. We know it's no longer a game of site license of a product. I started thinking about basically what solution can I offer a client. So I moved from a B2C company that was purely relying on traffic and clicks to more of a B2B company, where I am able to go to a big brand, the likes of L'Oreal, Philip Morris, LG, Oppo, you name it, and tell them, you know what, I have the audience. I created this 9-10 verticals of content. I know how to create content that really clicks with the audience. And now I'm able to basically sell a proposition that incorporates the technology, the content, and the reach. So as a product manager, your job is really to think around outside the where you are. Do you have a product that you believe in? Do you see where the market is moving and you're agile enough to jump into that wagon? And thirdly, do you have the team to get you where you want to be? I call them the change agents. Today, I don't hire for the sake of hiring. I don't hire because I have an opening. I hire because I see this individual coming in with an idea that I cannot do on my own. And that's the biggest ticker for me, that this person is needed at Harvey. I need to put a plug in here. We're about 130 employees, 13 nationalities, 60% are female. And that's, to me, the diversity, the beauty of the diversity of the team that enables us to come up with so many ideas and jump on the opportunity.
Very good. So now we could talk about a situation where the product manager moved from site licensing a product to building an online SaaS, or a product comes to content creation as a product. So you've actually moved to the third level, correct?
Absolutely, and I'm always looking at the fourth level now, because we look at what technologies are evolving. With machine learning, AR, VR, we know that we cannot have a tangible solution. As a startup, you cannot just think and about things that are not achievable. I always say, keep your head above the cloud, but you better touch the ground with your feet. You can't just think of metaverse when you have to really pay the salaries of your employees. So the idea was to make sure that you are creating a solution from within the means that you have, repurposing your own assets. So to your point, I took my content management system, I white labeled it, and gave it as a SaaS model. But unlike any of my other competitors, I managed to incorporate content, I managed to incorporate reach from my social media to give a far more compelling solution than anyone else in the market. Of course, my niche was Arabic language, so I managed to identify where the opportunities and hone in on them.
So let me ask you a question. Like, a lot of people who are watching this are entrepreneurs building their own companies. They're product managers, which are helping entrepreneurs who started the companies build companies. So if you look at it from that aspect, my bigger question to you would be, when you're building a product management team, what are the tips and ideas that you would do? How to hire people, what to do, what not to do? Are there some tips, since you've gone through not just step 1, 2 to step 3 and 4? A lot of these people will end up going in that direction. So what are the tips and ideas that you talk about?
Yeah, I think one thing you can't quantify is your belief in the product itself. So, you have to really have a strong product to go to market with. The second thing I would say is making sure that you are surrounded by the right people. Surprisingly, of course, I have a co-founder on the technology side of things, but I have a strong business excellence person that oversees the financials of the organization. And this is a big investment that I made that paid off very well for us. The third part is that I mentioned earlier, is embracing the change. Do not sit still on what you have. Keep an eye looking at if the market is evolving from, best example was we used to get CPMs for $50, came to programmatic down to $1. So imagine building your business based on that, what would happen to you? So making sure that you're always have a visibility at least 6 months to a year out, saying these are the changes that I can see coming and I need to pivot my business towards this. I don't believe a single entrepreneur started a company and kept the same business model. So making sure that your USPs are changing, but your USP is also changing. Get your MVP out as fast as you can. To the point where I had to create a sub team that will cater to my immediate needs. I have a company now that does A to Z operations, amazing work, but I needed to create a sub team. I call them the Project X, that their job is to quickly do an MVP, validate it, and then we scale it. Everyone goes through this. It's not rocket science, but we don't always find the time to do these exercises.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that a lot of us are feeling is the limitation on talent availability. So what is now coming in, and this is almost global. There was a time when India was known as the talent pool, unending talent pool. It looks like unending talent pools also have an end, have a limitation. So as things go by, getting more and more, you said you need to be surrounded by good people, the best people. I think that target gets harder and harder. How do you solve that? How have you solved that?
I wish I had the magic wand, but I'll tell you one thing, PK. I never lose an employee to a competitor. I lose them to a passport.
Wow, okay.
People decide to migrate to Australia, Canada, the States, whatever it is. This is my biggest challenge today, is how do we retain those talents? But we managed to work around this because of COVID and what happened with COVID, we realized that you don't necessarily need to be a full-time job, and you don't necessarily need to be in the office. As much as I personally think being in the office is a huge bonus. And we are back to the office since a year ago in Dubai. But find the proper consultants to work with and use them to give you guidance, to give you the trick, the tip that you could spend months or maybe years to get to that point. And this individual may be able to help you within weeks. I applied this to our own system, where I reached out to consultants in Germany, in Kuwait, in India, to really help me speed up the time to get to a better position. You cannot be an expert in every aspect of what you do. Don't build it. It will take time, but train it. So find the right consultant to help you with this and slowly take over that role. I think this helped us tremendously in most aspects of what you do, be it social media, programmatic revenue optimization, even development. So there are options out there. They might not be what we used to see and just outsourcing, but I think you need to be very creative in how you approach this.
So, Andy, one more thing which I would want to ask you, you have created a company which has moved on from being an ad supported business to become a content supported business. And that's a product which seems to be working. You've got 130 people now. And you chose a niche language, Arabic, to do that because you're based here. Now, do you think this model is kind of replicable in other parts? Would, like, for example, a product manager like you sitting in India be able to create a business, create a company or a startup around, say, a niche language, an Indian language, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes and a no. There's a yes where you can leverage the best practices and the technology. The technology is, it's Unicode. Any language can benefit from it, no problem. The best practices, definitely we can leverage. When it comes to content, and this is why we are in a very unique position in the Middle East, we need to be very local in the way we create content. And by the way, it's no longer the polished content. People want to associate themselves when they see a video, when they read an article. We want it to be very common, in a common language, maybe on a mobile shot, you shoot the video, etc. But the need for having that localness is very critical. And how we, as an organization based in Dubai, to basically replicate the success in another market is a very challenging goal. But the platform, the know-how, is something that we can definitely scale with a on-off switch.
So, Andy, before I end, tell us what's next. What's going to happen? What is the next steps for Harvey?
Yeah. So, like I said, we're self-funded, independent digital platform. So we keep our feet touching the ground all the time. To us, we're not here to challenge Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok. That's not my job. My job is really to ride the wave. And to us, we're seeing how important the two, mobile and video content, are, core to our publishing business. So these are areas where we're investing in terms of user-generated content, in terms of machine learning, optimization, and automation of our back-end platform. I would say social media, especially in this part of the world, you're no stranger to this, PK. It's super important. So we've created one of the largest databases of content creators. I'm not calling them influencers. They're content creators, they're KOLs, where we basically create solutions to clients and present an end-to-end 360 solution for a client. I see ourselves as becoming an agency who happens to be a publisher. And that's the evolution. We started as a publisher, and today we become an agency that happens to be a publisher.
Andy, Abbar, thank you so much for sharing your insight. And I'm sure a lot of people would be getting a lot of inspiration and insight. Thank you so much for being at NPC.